Okay, I'm just going to do that intro just one more time if you don't mind. My name's Yvette Adams and I'm from the Creative Collective, and I'm very excited to welcome you online tonight to Strengthen Your Business, a webinar brought to you by Department of Employment, Economic Development and Innovation, otherwise known as DD. Now I'm just clicking across and I can see that there's a slight lag, so there you go, you can now see the agenda. This is what we've got in store for you tonight. I'm just going to spend a few minutes introducing myself in case some of you are new. Now Todd, I can see you've got your hand up, so if you've got a question, can I encourage you to expand the chat menu and to just text me a little question there, and I'll see if I can answer it to you privately as we go, or my colleague Jag, who's also online tonight, will be able to help you out. Now, throughout this webinar, as with the other webinars in this series, if you've been on one before, we do refer to a workbook. Now, when you registered for the webinar, you should have been alerted to the downloading of a workbook, I should say, and that's really comprehensive. I will refer to it. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, I do encourage you to go back to it after the webinar. There's lots of valuable resources, reference material, and lots of exercises to work through. So if you want to really get clear on how to strengthen your business, that's a way that you could do that. Then we'll review different items from the webinar, and finally I will allow you to ask some questions as well. So if everybody's happy with that, raise your hand and we will proceed on to the next phase. Everyone's happy with that plan, that layout? Now, it's not like school. I do ask you to interact, making sure you're not going to sleep on me. It is the end of another working day. It is a Monday, so I better make sure. Let's move on. In just a moment, you'll see a photo. There I am of me, Yvette Adams. That's what I look like. So I am a multi-award-winning business owner, and I have started 4 businesses from scratch. So I hope through my experiences in business tonight, I'll be able to share some of that knowledge and experience with you and help you to take your business, whether it be a new one, an established one, or a fast-growing one, onto even dizzier heights. Right now, as I said, I am the director of the Creative Collective. We're basically a creative agency based on the beautiful Sunshine Coast of Queensland. What that means is we build websites, we do graphic design, we do print, we do lots of marketing and PR, but we do lots of sort of business consultancy and marketing strategies too. And a lot of the content we'll be covering tonight is very much focused on those strategies. We are experienced working with startups right through to very large companies. So in short, the knowledge I'm able to share, no matter what level of business you are, no matter what size, whether you're a solopreneur or a really large company, I hope I can help you out with some stuff. Now, I am also the mother of 2. My 2 are now aged 4 and 7. I like mentioning that at the start of the webinar because many people out there are parents juggling business. Hands up if any of you are also parents who have to fit in business around your duties as a parent. Bernie is. I know how difficult that can be at times. You get pretty creative about when you fit in business time sometimes. Only one of you. We've got a bunch of non-parents. That's unusual. But look, out of all of the things I do, I really do love training and assisting others. So I'm absolutely delighted to be part of this series of webinars. And I get a real kick out of helping business owners such as yourself. And I look forward to hearing your feedback later tonight. Now, the first part of tonight's presentation, I really want you to think about what's called your elevator pitch. Now, for some people, this is a concept that they've very much heard before. They've got one and they're very au fait with it. Other people, it's a brand new concept. Now, basically, what an elevator pitch is, and actually, could you raise your hands now if you've got one? You're pretty sure what it is and you've got one. You're pretty happy with your elevator pitch. It's basically, to clarify, a 30-second way of summing up what you do in business. And every successful business owner should be able to clearly articulate in 30 seconds, the idea being that if you jumped in an elevator, or a lift as we call them here in Australia, if somebody asked you, what do, you could clearly and effectively communicate it to them and, hey, maybe even snag a new customer or make a sale. So hands up if you think you have got an elevator pitch out there. Pretty important thing. Wow, none of you, really? Christine does. Yay. One of you does. Excellent. Well, now that Christine has kindly volunteered herself, she's going to hate me for this. Christine, I wonder if I might be able to unmute you So you can share your elevator pitch and we can hear what you've got to say. Christine, can you hear me okay? Have you got your sound on, Christine? No sound problems tonight?
Yep, can you hear me now?
I'm not getting
Can you
any
hear
sound
me?
from you right now.
Oh.
Okay, Jack's saying he can hear her. I'm not sure why I can't.
No? Oh. You still can't hear me now?
I'm just upping my volume.
Oh, okay.
I can't hear anything at all actually at the moment.
Oh,
Gosh,
okay.
Jag, if
can
you can hear her, do you think everybody else can?
Can you hear me
Okay,
now?
if everybody else can hear her, I wish I could.
Oh.
Raise your hand if you can hear Christine then, just speaking. Jag could, our facilitator, Todd could.
The
Okay.
things I could say.
I don't know what's going on at my end. Perhaps my headset has gone a bit silly.
Can you hear me now, Vet?
Getting some lights on again.
No.
Okay.
No, still can't hear me.
I can now, Christine. My headset has done
Hello.
some things. Are you there?
Okay, so you can still hear me.
Okay, I've got a backup plan. Just a moment. I'm just going to install it. Okay, Christine, are you with me?
Yep, I can
Cool.
hear you fine.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. I'm glad I've got you now. Christine, would you mind sharing your 30-second elevator pitch with me?
Ooh. Okay, then I'm sure I can come up with something.
Go for it.
Hi, I'm Christine. I'm from Impact Asphalt. We're a new business on the Sunshine Coast, and we do asphalt driveways and asphalt pathways and decorative brick edging. Yeah, we service mainly hinterland areas and acreage driveways and residential driveways, and we also cover a lot of work with the a lot of civil contractors on the coast. So yeah, we find asphalt is a more economical product to use than concrete, especially in long driveways. But yeah, so if you're needing an asphalt driveway or any asphalt work or areas done, then give us a call and we can come out and assess the area and give you a quote.
Wow, Christine, I'm really impressed. That's really, really good. I really liked...
Is it 30 seconds?
Probably a little bit longer getting towards the end of it, but I liked how you said...
Oh, there you go. I was pushing it out, so I thought it was going to be too long.
Yeah, you've definitely practiced that before. What I liked about what you said, Christine, is that you named your name and where you are, because sometimes in the heat of the moment you can kind of forget those things. You said where you serviced, you said what you offered. You also gave, I guess, a point of difference, like why would I use asphalt over something else? So that made it particularly stronger. Some of those details, even if you'd said the rest as beautifully as you did, if you'd forgotten that, it just wouldn't have been as strong. So well done. Who else thought that was a really good elevator speech? They're pretty clear on who Christine is and what she offers now. Hands up, everyone. Yep, Todd knows exactly what you offer, and what a great opportunity for an ad. So to promote your business. So I'm sure you will wish you now said it. So thanks, Christine. We'll mute you again, and we'll move on. But that's an elevator pitch, people, and I strongly encourage you to get one for your business. Okay, now to strengthen your business, you also need to think about what your customer wants, because too often in business we get so caught up in paperwork and working in the business rather than on it, we sometimes forget about the poor old customer. And really, at the end of the day, you wouldn't have a business if it weren't for the customer. So get to know your customer, get to understand your customer, and anticipate change rather than reacting to it. Too often in business we get what we call complacent. We think, oh well, I'm a great asphalter, Christine could say. I'm cost effective. Why would anyone else look anywhere else? But let's say some whiz-bang new product for servicing driveways, it isn't asphalt, it isn't concrete, it's some new thing comes about. She can't be complacent in thinking that that's all ever people are going to want. So she needs to, as a savvy business person, keep up with research, anticipate those changes, perhaps look to take on that new product or look to market her product in a new way as a result. So I want to ask you to put your hands up if you think you intimately know your customers' needs and what they need from your business, and what you need to do to address these needs. Do you feel like you do know your customers that well? Hands up. Bernie does. Great. Look, some of these things may seem very, very simple, but you need to think of a strategy to connect with your customers. You need to think of a policy to look after them as well. what people and customer service you can offer, and also what systems you can do to support them as well. We'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment. But there's some great ways within the workbook where you can find out more about how you can service your customer needs. And as well, at the end of this webinar, I'll tell you about another webinar coming up, which is all about retaining your customers. And that webinar is very much focused on working out how to retain your customers, finding out what they want, and then making sure that you're doing the right thing. Now, this next slide looks pretty crazy, but it flips up on your screen any moment now. There we go. Kind of looks like an octopus, doesn't it? And there's very small writing on there, but I guess this shows you all the different things. We call it a trend blend, and it was actually created in 2009, that can impact on your business. Now, right now, we're having some pretty severe things impacting on business around the world. And I say around the world, it's been here in Queensland massively, and that's where we're all based, presumably, but now in New Zealand, but everywhere else in the world. You know, I've got friends in Iceland, I've got friends in England, I've got friends in Africa. I talk to them, and massive dramatic things are affecting their businesses, their ability to do business. So this screenshot's taken again straight out of the workbook. Now look at the different grey bubbles in there. Global connectivity, that's become a big thing only in the last few years. What has that meant to your business? Or if your business is new and growing, what could it mean? Digitization, same thing. You know, once upon a time, the likes of lawyers and accountants and things, it was all about paper, and they had so many filing cabinets. But I know for sure that there's businesses out there that are digitizing everything in their offices, so it doesn't need to be a paper-filled office necessarily. I mean, even recently I was involved in a real estate transaction, and once upon a time you would have had to drop that hard copy off to the real estate agent or post it. These days an email is actually okay. Debt is a massive thing right now. You can see the tentacles coming off that. Debt stress, luxuries, single-person households, etc., etc. The world is still experiencing something of a global financial crisis, and these disasters certainly aren't helping. So, you know, how does that affect your business? For instance, if you offer a luxury item like, let's say, fashion shoes, can people afford to buy these shoes, or are they really just focused on survival items like food and shelter, etc.? Aging, you can see another bubble there. That affects a lot of businesses. You know, if you're in the business of making, I don't know, let's say hearing aids or something, as people age that they tend to often have problems with, perhaps spectacles, that's probably a growing market for you, and certainly something you need to consider as well. So I encourage you to take a look at this trend blend and identify at least one trend you think will have a significant impact, whether that's positive or negative, and text me which one you think that will be for your business and why. So if you can't find the chat, it should be down the bottom, so click on the red little arrow, go down to the bottom, click on chat, expand that, and I want you to type in there which of these, just, you know, choose the word climate change, for instance, and you could say positive because I'm in eco-solar heating, so that's okay with me, as an example of what you could send me now. And while you're doing that, we will move on, but I really want to hear from you and get to know what issues your business is facing. And you need to know these issues really clearly because that's how you can strengthen your business. Now, I'm not receiving those yet, but hopefully you're all just tapping away on your computers. Right, next one. Which type of company are you? Complete this exercise in the workbook. This is something else from the workbook which I just want to highlight, something I do encourage you to go away and look at, because there are these macro trends such as things within society, technology, economy, environment, politics, etc. And then there's sub-trends under these. So right now you're going to chat me just one example from the page before, but I would actually like you all to make the time after this webinar perhaps, or certainly tomorrow while it's all so fresh in your mind, and go through and complete this in the workbook, or even draw this up yourself, and consider technology. What parts of that will affect your business? What sort of impact will it be? Is there opportunities as a result of that impact? Economy, you know, what's the sub-trend coming off that? So, you know, for instance, Christine just explained that asphalt is a cheaper alternative to concrete, so cheaper and still good quality. So sub-trend could be that people are looking for cheaper solutions under economy. The impact could be more people looking for cheaper quotes, cheaper alternatives, opportunity. That's exactly an opportunity I'm talking about as well. Now, something a lot of businesses want to do to strengthen their business is to generate more revenue. Hands up if that's an issue for you. You would love to be making more money coming through your books. Do we have any hands? Christine does. That was a quick hand. Bernie, Todd. Usually we get a clear run of hands here. Scott, Jag, it'd be quite good if you could just text Scott individually and make sure he's with us. Same with Alexandra, because we're not getting as many responses from them as some of the others. Okay, usually that's pretty common. Everyone wants to generate more revenue. Now take a look at this diagram, because if you look at the dark blue aspects, these can really impact on how you can generate more revenue. If you have more prospects and you're converting at a higher conversion rate, which is the next highlighted dark blue, and you're retaining more of those, you're going to have more new customers and more retained customers. That equals your customer base, as you can see on there. Now, if you can sell to them more frequently, rather than just once a year, twice a year, maybe rather than once, twice again in their whole lifetimes. If you can sell a larger size, so sell not just the one package, but a bigger amount, and if you can charge them more for that, that is how you increase your turnover. Now, these are simple little figures which sound easy to do, harder to actually emulate in practice, but in the Improve Your Business webinar, also in some of the financial ones, we show you some scenarios of exactly how little small increases can really make a massive indent on the bottom line, on that revenue figure you're seeking to improve. So that's something for you to go away and get familiar with. Look at that diagram yourself, perhaps after this webinar, and think, you know, if I could just increase my prospects by 5% this month or this year, if I could just increase the frequency by even 5%, run the figures yourself and see what you get. Write those targets up, put them somewhere visible, and really commit to trying to achieving them. Strengthening your business, as you can see on this next slide here, also involves retaining your customers, as we've just seen before. That increases your custom database. It's not just about getting new ones all the time. You've really got to look after the ones you've already got. Because, as the stats says here, acquiring new customers can cost 5 to 10 times more than satisfying and retaining existing ones. Now, often as a marketing professional, I'm called out to businesses and they say, and I ask them, why am I here today? How do you want me to help you? And they will say, we need to market, we need to get more customers. And one of my first questions I throw back is always, well, how many customers do you already have? And when was the last time you communicated with them? When was the last time you surveyed them and found out what it is they're looking for from your business or enjoy dealing with or would prefer to be offered? And often their faces look a bit blank at that point, and I often have to suggest, well, perhaps we actually survey them first and work out where they're at. Perhaps we go through that big filing cabinet of names, back through all the old emails, back through all the old account systems, and look, I'll admit there's time involved in this, but that is a better place generally to start. Those warm leads who did at one time purchase from you, they have a higher propensity to purchase from you again than going out and looking for brand new customers, which, as you can see here, costs a whole lot of money. It costs you time and it costs you money. Now, 5% reduction in customers leaving you can increase profits by 25 to 85%. So if you're trying to strengthen your business and you'd like to increase your profits, that's where you could be looking. That could be a target you could set yourself, and if you have one, your team to put into place. Now, the average company, if you're wondering, well, what's normal? Like, I do lose some customers, but do I beat myself up over losing some? Because I agree that sometimes you can't please everybody. Sometimes a customer and a business relationship is just not a match made in heaven. There might be a personality involved or something like that. So just know that the average company does lose 10 to 30% of its customers, but obviously the smaller you can keep that figure and the happier you can keep your customers, the better off you'll be. So I'd love to know what your strategies to retain profitable customers are. Would anybody like to volunteer to share one of their strategies to look after their key clients, something that they think works really well for them? Raise your hand if you'd like to participate. It'd be good to hear what you have to say. The rest of the group can learn from you. Come on, you shy people. I'm really not that scary. I can keep telling you about strategies we use or that I've seen used. Okay, Scott, brilliant. Jag, would you mind unmuting Scott? Oh, Scott, that's pretty loud. Can you hear me okay, though? Scott, are you there?
Okay, can you hear me?
Can now. That's an improvement. You still there? You came and you went with a loud amount of noise. Hopefully he can come back. Ah, there he's back.
How's that? Can you hear that?
That's perfect.
Right, I muted it. I didn't know
Great.
what I put my hand up for.
Okay, Scott, so tell me, where are you and what is your business first? What are you in the business of?
I'm a business broker, so I'm in sales and acquisitions of businesses.
Okay. So
Middleman, I suppose you'd call it.
So what are your strategies to retain profitable customers?
Retain profitable customers. And it'd have to be just to do a professional, good job while selling their business for them. And as much for them so that they walk away as a happy client and they remember the job I did for them.
Sure, because is it very often that you would sell a business for the same crowd more than, it's not a one-time sort of thing?
I haven't been involved with it for very long, but as for selling a business for one crowd, did you say? For one particular type of crowd?
Sure, like do you deal with business owners who sell more than one business over a period of time? Or I imagine you may be a little bit different here in that often you may sell one business for one person and then it is a new customer that you're dealing with. Would that be correct?
No, not so far. I haven't really niched into that sort of environment where I'm working in a department like logistics or anything like that, which I think you're referring to. Is that right?
No, all I'm referring to is when you sell a business for a client, do they ever sell more than one business? So do you get the one frequency probably? They just sell one business once, or do they ever sell multiple businesses because they own multiple businesses?
No, I haven't had that type of opportunity yet.
Sure. But as you say, you're new to it.
Actually, I just signed up my first listing the other day, so I sort of haven't had that great a deal of dealing with clients in this area.
Sure. Well, Sorry, I was going to say good on you for getting on tonight and getting some new skills on board then. What were you going to say next, sorry?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get my face out there a bit and develop a bit of a profile, so I'm doing as much as I can to get involved with things, and where I sit at the moment it's a bit difficult, but yeah, I sort of get involved.
Good on you. And whereabouts were you calling in from, Scott, out of curiosity?
I'm actually at Koana at the moment.
Koana, Sunshine Coast.
Parriera.
Oh, yeah, we know the area. It's not so far from me. Isn't that funny? Okay, Scott, we'll just...
Parriera.
Parriera.
It's actually, yeah, it's
sure.
Koana Island.
Got it. I know exactly where you mean, Scott. Well, thanks for participating. We're just going to mute you again and continue because we've got a few more slides to share, but I wish you all the absolute best in your new business adventures, and I hope that you're getting lots out of tonight and will join us for future sessions as well. Okay, next up, business owners, I want you to consider your product or service lines. So there's some examples of products, but you may or may not sell those. Some of us are in the business of selling a product. Some of us are in the business of selling a service, and some of us sell other things again, events and all sorts of things. Now, I want you to be really objective here. Are your business products or services you're selling profitable? Now, that might seem like a ridiculous question. You may say, of course they are. I wouldn't be doing it otherwise. Why would I do it if I wasn't making any money? But there have been instances when I've sat down with a business owner, an example is a landscape gardener, and crunched the numbers of what cost of sales and expenses they have in their business and then what they're charging on an hourly rate. And one guy I did this with was absolutely horrified for me to explain to him after all was said and done that it was costing him $5 every hour to go and work for somebody else, even though he was charging 60 or 65, because he hadn't factored in all the petrol, the travel time, just insurances and all sorts of stuff like that. So make sure you know if you are profitable, and maybe one of your services is Maybe, let's say, his lawn mowing was, but the landscape gardening was really not. He should have been charging a higher hourly rate or something like that. Can they be profitable? Now, this is what every big business owner has to do because, you know, product lines have trends. They go up and down. I've been reading a lot of Richard Branson lately, and he obviously, through his Virgin Music empire, got into, he diversified into electronics when Sega games came out. And, you know, they had a definite product trend. For a while, they were very trendy. They took on the Nintendo and they did very well. And then the phase kind of petered out. So he identified, actually through his kids, funnily enough, that they were no longer interested in those games and that perhaps it might be on a bit of a downward spiral and he may want to get out of that particular product line. And he, of course, was very diversified and had a lot of product lines. If they're not going well, or if they are going well, are they likely to grow in the future? You know, another example is Karen Adcock, the woman behind Pandora Jewellery here in Australia and New Zealand. I had the pleasure of meeting her at the Telstra Businesswomen's Awards last year. Now, that is a phase that she anticipated. She was from Denmark. She went there, and that's where Pandora was from. She anticipated that it would grow demand for those products here in Australia and New Zealand in the future, and she sought to become a distributor for them in this area. And did it grow? Yes, it did. Was it a craze? Yes, it is. And it still kind of is. It would have had some ups and downs, but I bet she's carefully looking at these trends that we're looking at here. Also, just look at if they form part of the strategy plan for your business. It's pretty important when you start a business or even when you're going to have a plan. Because let's say somebody comes along and says, would you like to sell this product as well as what you're already selling? You need to look at that and say, well, does that fit my strategy, or is that diversifying too much, or is that going to dilute my time and effort on the other stuff? And look, as a business owner, you're absolutely allowed to make the call and say, yes, I'm going to go for it. It is within what I want to do. You know, as long as it's a conscious decision, don't just keep saying yes and taking things on and not really working out whether they fit into the strategic plan. And I'm really encouraging you to commit to doing this, asking yourself these key questions to know how your business is performing, and then having the information on board to actually strengthen your business. Now, here's another interesting consideration. Did you know that 20% of your customers, this is real fact, their purchases will provide 80% of your business? So to maximize profit, grow your profitable lines and customers. How do you do this? Well, there's a rule called the ABC rule. Have you heard of this? Put up your hand if you know of the ABC rule. It's a way of strengthening your business through your client database. No one heard of it? Or we just slow the door, we're going to sleep on you there. Bernie's awake. He said he knows the ABC. Good. Bernie, I hope you won't mind me covering this again, but I will give you my spin on it as well. ABC. Of course, A can be your top clients, your VIPs if you like. They're the people who spend the most money with you, who refer the most, who return to you, and maybe you just like really dealing with them. They're just super nice people. So I call my A's, in a way of remembering them, I call them awesome. B, I call them my basic customers. You know, they buy some stuff off you. They don't spend a whole lot. They don't refer a whole lot. You know, they're okay. You're glad they're there, but they're not your biggest spenders. They're not your A's. And then C, you could deem as your casual people. They're kind of there. They might come and go. They're really not regular. They're really very small. They can sometimes be a bit of a hassle to deal with, maybe more trouble than good. So, you know that 20% of your customers' purchases will provide 80% of your business. You can probably guess that most businesses have about 20% of classified A customers if they would actually crunch the numbers. Now, what my company does is it's an annual ritual around Christmas time. We have a strategy planning day before we break for Christmas. We actually take all of our 300-odd clients and we break them down into A's, B's and C's. And for us, we're even more ruthless. Our C's we actually cull. So we work out who do we not enjoy working with, who are the people who are giving us the headaches, who are never happy no matter how hard we try for them, who don't spend that much money and who just aren't, it's not a match made in heaven, and we will find ways to extricate ourselves from that client relationship. And there's a number of strategies I could talk you through if that was something you're interested in. But the A's, we look at ways on the converse, how we can service them better, how we can make them happier, how we can keep them being our very important customers that they are. So is there some good ideas in that lot for you guys? Show me your hands if you're already thinking of things you might be able to do And you might even after this go and do an ABC client list. Bernie's going to. Good stuff. All right. Now marketing. Marketing is a really important way that you can strengthen your business. Now we do have future events. One's called retaining your profitable customers and one's called attracting new customers. They're good marketing webinar sessions to get on with us in the future months. But in a nutshell, in tonight's context, just to strengthen your business, you need to test your marketing. You need to measure it. A lot of people, I will say, you know, what marketing are you doing? And they kind of just have to remember everything off the top of their head. There's no documented place. It's not up on a wall. It's not in a spreadsheet. And I encourage you to have a good, clear list of your offline and online marketing activities so you have that clear picture. But more importantly, you've got to be able to measure it. Now, there's all sorts of measurement devices that you could use, like Google Analytics, which is a free statistical program from Google. Google Analytics is a way that you can measure your website traffic. You need to have, as well, some kind of in-house tracking. If you receive emails and phone calls, you need some way of making a little note how many phone calls you get a week and with their prospective or existing customers and what's working for you. You probably need to have staff training in this stuff to make sure they're measuring on your behalf. You may need a CRM or a client relationship manager, an actual dedicated system that tracks who's coming in and what conversations take place so you can run reports at the end of it. If you take the time to gather that data, you can then refine, which is the third step in this chain process, what's working and what's not. You can get rid of the marketing activities that are just not working. You can make the ones that are working okay work even better. And then once you've got down to them working really well, you can repeat. And that's a certainly exciting phase when you get to that one. There is hard work involved. It is like a jigsaw. That's why there's a picture there. And you've got to have tenacity to do this. You'll note there I've got online tends to be more measurable, which is why a lot of people these days are going for online marketing activities. One, they can work better. Two, they can cost less. But three, and really importantly, they're easier to measure how things are going. Otherwise, you're relying on human and sometimes human error to track each of those phone calls, emails, human interactions. So, you know, an example is when I go and see businesses, often we will test and have tracking for them how many inquiries they're getting from a certain marketing activity. Let's say maybe Yellow Pages. And sometimes, even though they've always done Yellow Pages, they'll start to produce that this marketing perhaps isn't as effective as some of the other online marketing things are these days. And that's certainly a trend that I see time and time again lately. So I encourage you to evaluate your current marketing activities and associated spend, as that will definitely strengthen your business yet again. Right, pricing. I want to know if some of these pricing systems now on the screen are new to you. So let me know if you've seen these before. Hands up if you use these, you know what I'm talking about, if what's on screen, cost plus, market-based, skimming, etc. And I'd love you to text me too on this list what you're already using as part of your business pricing models. Let me know. Okay, because let me go through them. Cost plus is adding a percentage of the cost of the product to determine a selling price. That's a pretty common way of working out your cost. So you say, this is my cost to have this service, and so I'll add 40%, 50%, 100% is pretty common in retail, for instance. Market-based, where the selling price is determined by research compiled from your target market. Now, big companies would do a lot of this because they would have research marketing teams working out, you know, what exactly they should sell the item for. So let's go back to the Mr. Branson scenario. I'm sure he didn't just sell his Sega devices plucked out of a figure by adding a certain percentage. He was in a highly competitive market with lots of other big companies vying for the individual's business. So he would have had to be dictated by some degree by the market, and I believe market research would have been a really important strategy for him to set his prices. Skimming is another one where you can set the selling price high and sacrificing a high number of sales for a high profit. That's only going to work for a high demand product. So you can't just say, oh, that sounds good. I like the idea of selling this and dealing with less customers and just skimming the market. That is a strategy. It is a pricing model. It can work very well. It's a luxury, high demand, very unique. Nobody else is offering it, or you've got a really key point of difference, then you can offer that. But it's something to be aware of, maybe not now, maybe to implement in the future. There's penetration pricing as well, which is kind of the opposite, setting the selling price low to gain customers' interest and to get a foothold in the market. Now, sometimes when you enter a very aggressive market where there's lots of competition, that is a model you have to go for. You know, the likes of some of these electronic suppliers, they do have very low profit margins, and they are trying to get established in the market and do the volume thing. You know, sell as many TVs, fridges, toasters, kettles, all those sorts of things, and that's how they keep competitive. Just think yourself, when the last time you went into one of those electronic stores or the like appliance stores, and what was their strategy to get your business. So I encourage you to consider experimenting with new pricing systems. Don't always settle for the percentage one. All right, distribution. This is a way you can strengthen your business too. How are you getting your products, the stuff, you know, this is more talking about products and services, although in some cases it does apply. How do you distribute your product? You know, what is the reach of your product? Where is it getting to? Is it just Sunshine Coast wide? Is it Queensland wide? Is it Australia wide? Or is it going to 10 countries? That's exciting stuff. What's the cost of distributing your product as well? You've got to think of those things. Is there a cheaper way you could distribute it? Would you choose new locations that it will be cheap to distribute to? Could you get a distribution warehouse on the ground in some of these countries when you get big as well? What about forms of product bundling? So if they're going to buy something off you, can you sell them something else at the same time? And how can you improve in order to keep all this happening? So I want to ask you, are you happy with your distribution channels, and could you explore new ones? Send me a text, yes or no, if you could explore new channels. There's some ideas on the screen, customers, cost, integration as well. I'm actually going to keep going in the interest of time. I've still got a bit to cover. This is a big old topic, this one. Strategy. Now, I wouldn't mind if somebody would volunteer again, perhaps someone we haven't had so far, another volunteer at this point, just to keep in touch with you, make sure you're still there. So put up your hand. How about you, Todd, or Alexandru, or Bernie perhaps? Would you like to be one of our willing volunteers right now, please? We might just pick you on the spot otherwise. Jake, should we just try unmuting? Oh, Bernie, good on you. He's, I was going to say Todd, but Bernie was quick to on the call. Let's unmute him. Hey, Bernie, how you going?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I sure can. Welcome to the webinar tonight. So,
Thank you.
You enjoying it so far, learning a few new things?
Certainly.
Oh, excellent. Okay, Bernie, on the screen you can see a few questions. So I just want to go through these now. Firstly, where are you calling from and what's your business?
I'm at Beaumont Tiles franchise in Mount Isa.
Cool, good. Good to have you on all the way from Mount Isa. So your market position, where are you at right now with your tyres in Mount Isa? Are you the leading in the market? Tyres, did you say?
As
tiles.
Tiles.
Tiles. Beaumont.
As in floor tiles.
So sorry.
Yes.
We'll get that right for you. Where's your market position in Mount Isa?
As far as tiles, probably leader because we're the only specialist tiles place in Mount Isa. There are carpet shops that sell tiles, but we specialise in tiles.
Okay, that's nice and clear market position, liking that. What's your goals and objectives as a business? Where do you want to go? What are you trying to do?
There's still market opportunities, not only in Mount Isa but outlying areas. We have contact with, say, stations, but we don't do a lot with stations. There's Cloncurry, there's Northern Territory. We also sell bathroom wear, so it's consolidating with bathroom wear and with our builders and plumbers. Okay, so let's get a bit more defined there, because there was some good conversation in there, but what's your key objective? Is it to expand your reach into other outlying regions, for instance? Did I articulate that well? That's one, yes. Okay. And two is to consolidate and make sure we service our current builders and get any new builders that are in the area on board as well. That's probably the two prongs.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's nice and clear. Often, actually, it's not just you, Bernie, but when I talk to businesses, there is a lot of discussion. They kind of know the sorts of things that are going on, but I really encourage you to get crystal clear, like really narrow it down, give it a nice, short, sharp description, kind of like the elevator pitch, because then other people can share that vision, that objective, and they can get on board and help you get there, whether that's marketing professionals, staff, or suppliers, or whatever. So that's an important one to know. And finally, how will you get there? You've sort of described where you want to go. How are you going to do it?
One is get in contact with the outlying areas through a mail out service. As far as Cloncurry, actually going on the ground there, hopefully. As far as our builders, it's maintaining the builders we have, so treating them as number one and sending out newsletters, giving them special deals, and obviously contacting the builders that we don't have on board and marketing to them on site. Okay, great. Well, often in business, would this be the same for you, Bernie? You don't always take time out to ask yourself these key questions. You just kind of are wrapped up doing it. But it's pretty useful to stop and just think about these things sometimes, isn't it? Sometimes you actually have to stop and think about it. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate that. You were nice and clear. Hopefully I've offered you a few suggestions, particularly on the objectives front. Do you have these written down? Are they clearly communicated with staff?
Yes.
Great.
It's something I've actually done probably in the last 3 or 4 months.
And is that helping get everyone focused on track, performing?
Definitely.
Good to hear. All right, thanks so much for sharing, Bernie, all the way from Mount Isa, and thanks for getting on tonight. We'll just mute you again. Okay, I'm loving interacting. I love this job so much, like I said, because I get to talk to people from all over and all these different businesses. It's really wonderful, and hopefully by you hearing from other people, you learn too. All right, part of strengthening your business, once you've got the strategy, is you've got to grow the business. So what's the growth strategies? So are you going to bring your existing products to a new market? So that sounds like what Bernie's trying to do. She's trying to take her tiles to the outlying areas of Mount Isa. Or are you going to develop new products for new or existing markets? Maybe Bernie meets a new supplier of amazing tiles and she can start to take those products to the same market she has or to those new markets she's exploring. They're just a couple of very simple ways of understanding growth strategies. But to do that, and these are things Bernie would face, as would you if you were going to grow your business, you've got to consider the transportation costs, because if she's going to, get those out to these outlying areas, how much will it cost her to get them there? Is fuel going up? There's one of those external factors we talked about at the start, those trends. That's something she needs to map out and consider. What about how well they'll be handled? I mean, gosh, you wouldn't want broken tiles arriving. I'm sure she's got great strategies around that. That's something she'd have to think about. If you were importing them, let's say she was bringing beautiful Italian tiles in from Italy, what would be the regulatory approvals for foreign product? Consumer affordability. It's great if she brought in these amazing Italian tiles, let's say, but what if nobody could actually afford them? That's something to consider. Relative pricing of incumbent suppliers, so the suppliers you're using, distribution margins, the expected price per unit, respect for intellectual property and legal infrastructure. So intellectual property is not going to really apply to those particular tile scenario, but if you're selling, I don't know, a concept, an image, something that's probably more service-based, these are certainly things you'll need to think about. What's the total customer base? If you're looking at going to these outlying areas, how many new customers do you think you could pick up? How much do you think you can increase the market size? Segment the market to identify what portion could be targeted by your product or service. So you may say in one of these outlying areas, for instance, there are 4,000 residents, and I'm going to target 25% of them. So if I can get 1,000 of them buying my products in the next 5 years, that would be a great result, might be an example. So really that sort of clear definition is what I'm looking for, really minute detail. The expected penetration of the product or service into the market, the competitive environment, is there anybody else out there? Is there not? What's the local labour cost going to be? and look, is there other factors, because sometimes there is corruption and all sorts of things to deal with, particularly when you're dealing with international markets. So give all of those a bit of consideration as well. Now, strategic customer management. So we've kind of talked about the 80-20 rule, but what about these two? And this is a diagram straight out of the workbook once again, which once again I encourage you to look at. You know, you can have high value customers with a low payment risk. So examples of that would often be things like government clients, because they may, you know, have a good contract, but they are generally going to pay. Sometimes you can have a high value customer. I've seen some examples of this in the construction industry recently. Big contracts, but big risk. And actually, unfortunately, there's been a few dominoes toppling in that market recently. They're high risk because they're all kind of relying on one another, and when one topples, it can be, like I said, a domino effect. Is it a low value customer with low payment risk? So you might say, look, you know, I'm not getting as much money off them, but there's not much risk. So that's the kind of customer I'm choosing to have. I'm just going to start small and build it up. You know, maybe Scott is going to try and turn over some little business sales to get started because he's still finding his feet, and that's the sort of area he wants to be in. Or is it a low value customer with high payment risk, which is probably everyone's least desirable type of customer? So try and be analytical. Don't just accept everybody. Sometimes try and think about whether they are the right customer for you. And I do encourage you to go back to the workbook. There's a good exercise in there relating to that. It looks kind of like this, where you could say, okay, I do have these high value, low risk customers, so I'm going to develop and automate some customers in order to make sure I look after them because they're such good customers. High value, high risk, I'm going to proactively manage them, make sure that I understand their buying motives and position on the supply chain. Like, you know, you haven't got someone approving for work to be done who doesn't really actually pay the bills, and there's going to be a problem with it being paid. Could you change their payment terms or the terms that you're providing the service or the business a product on specifically for those customers as well as another strategy. Low value, low risk. Can you automate in order to reduce the transaction costs? So happy to take them, but if you can automate those processes, that would be a good way to go. And the low value or high risk, can you eliminate these customers altogether or get them onto other distribution channels, try and get them spending more or something like that. So go through those in your business and think about strategies for you. Right, you need to, once you've got some runs on the board, also review your business performance regularly. Now, some people always intend to do this and they don't always do it. My preferred way is just a simple spreadsheet where I pick some key performance indicators, KPIs they're also known as, and for different aspects of the business. So maybe you pick a few financial metrics, which we'll talk about in upcoming webinars on those topics. Pick some key marketing metrics. Maybe it could be the number of unique users on your website, could be the number of online inquiries you've had, could be the number of page views you've had, etc. Because then once you've got those performance things being tracked, you can start looking back month by month. Wow, this month was much better than last month. That's interesting. This month's much better than this time last year. That's interesting. Or worse. And you can start to kind of get more in control of your business. And that also will help you choose the appropriate strategies, because if you're not growing at the rate you want to be, then you at least know what's happening. Cash flow management, as will come up on your screen in just a moment, there it is a killer for a lot of small businesses. And you know, there's two reasons why a lot of businesses don't survive past the 3-year key crucial phase. One is growth. They don't grow fast enough, or they grow too fast. The other is cash flow. So there's too many businesses, unfortunately, out there, and I hope you're not one of these, that just run out of cash. So they may have billed the people, but the money doesn't come back soon enough because the payment terms aren't there, it's not enforced, they're not chasing up people quickly for the money, or they don't have good systems in place. So, you know, how this works in a diagram flow is that you spend cash to maybe buy a product or service. You make a payment maybe for the raw materials or the labour. You know, Christine may pay people to do the labour, the asphalting of the ground, and then the goods would be produced. You may produce the driveway, and finally the customer makes payment, which injects cash. So have a good clear look at that cash flow system, and I really hope that you will understand it and have some good really really good terms in place, which we do talk about in future financial webinars as well. Now, receivables. This is this process as well. So when the sales order is recorded, the value, the invoice, and the collection. The collection is the part that I think a lot of businesses make the mistakes on. What I really encourage businesses to have is an automated follow-up system, and these do exist. So rather than relying on a bookkeeper or yourself to get around to calling people and going, you actually owe us some money, if it automatically lets them know that they owe money, if you can take money online, if they can do it all automated any time of the day or night, and they can check their statements so they don't play this game of, I don't know, send me the statement, I thought I paid that, fun and games, that will usually improve your business cash flow. Pretty important stuff. There's a great system I recommend called freshbooks.com that actually does that very, very well if that's an issue for you. People. This is how you strengthen your business too. People are so important. Now, we're in tough economic times, so it's a good idea to try and retain your staff, but maybe they don't want to go anyway, even if you didn't want to retain them, because you don't really want to having to be hiring and training somebody up. It's good to always have long-term staff, of course. To keep them, you've got to communicate with them, and you've got to keep them motivated. And even the most motivated of staff can sometimes lose their way. But things like having that clear strategy, those clear objectives, like I was just speaking about to Bernie, can really help them understand what you're trying to do, what their role is in it. And what I actually do to motivate and get my staff to perform is get each of them to perform on a different aspect or area of the business. So, you know, even our 18-year-old trainee reports on the social media activities of our company and understands how they're increasing, and there's good activity on those that can affect our business for the better. Our bookkeeper reports on the financial side, our client manager reports on the estimating side, new business side. So we all together come together and know how our parts of the jobs fit into the business. And you know what? Having a job description, that's a super important aspect of having a good, strong business as well. And even if it's just you, I encourage you to write down all the things you do in a day, work out the things you'd like to give away, and then when you're ready to hire your first PA or your bookkeeper or whoever it is that you hire first up, you can then give them that component of the job description. And another point there, super important if you're working with friends or family or partners, that you have clearly defined job descriptions each. Saves on a lot of heartache and trouble. Right, systems. I'm going to open a poll now, or perhaps Jag, you could do that for me. You guys should have a little poll pop up in your screen. There we go. It's popped up. Now, while we're looking at that, I'll just talk about systems. You're getting asked, what systems is your business already using? Because some of the things we've been talking about tonight, it's all well and good. They sound like they make sense. We know we should be doing them. Some of us are doing them. Some of us aren't. Some of us are doing them a little bit. I want to know what systems your business is already using, and to go through these. So CRM, this is a system I recommend every business have. You know, if you can track who you've talked to, when you talked to them, what you talked about, whether they were a prospect, that is not someone who's paying you money yet, or a client, or even one of your VIP clients, then when you do get in help, whether it be a temp, a student, or an actual staff member, there's a nice clear record. And even for yourself, when you talk to them again in 6 months' time and they say, oh, I'm that person that inquired about the driveway, if you could pull up their file and go, oh, yes, Mrs. Jones, I see here you had a acreage driveway in Palmwoods. You know, can you imagine how amazed they would be at how well you remembered them, and that would increase their propensity to buy through you. So a CRM, that's just one of the many benefits. Enterprise resource planning. If you're doing any kind of business that's involving quite large projects, maybe complex phases, maybe multiple staff and lots of time, then you may need some kind of project management or resource planning system. And sometimes even if that costs a bit of money and takes a bit of commitment to getting up and running, the money it will save you and the customer service it will increase, etc., are well worth it. So be aware of those, take a look at those. E-commerce, how many of you are taking transactions online, whether you're actually selling physical products, or could you be taking money online for the invoices and things to speed up that cash flow, improve that area? Online account systems. Now, look, a huge amount of Australia is on things like Mile and QuickBooks, and I believe that both of them, if they don't already, are about to have online solutions. But I have for quite some time now chosen rather to use a system called FreshBooks and another one called Xero, xero.com. The reason I do is because they're online. So I can invite my accounts person or financial advisor to log in and look at how our things are being performed, being reported on, rather than zipping up this clunky mail file that we have to pass over to them at tax time or BAS and wait for it to come back, and risk version control. The other issue is if you have a disaster, whether it be a flood or the computer just falls over, you've lost all that data. You may have backups, and I hope you all do backups. But if you don't, these online systems are wonderful because they're backing it all up in the cloud. And in future months, we're really excited. We will be doing a webinar specifically on cloud computing, which is exciting stuff too. Finally, I've got on there an online operations manual. And look, there's actually others I could have mentioned there. You know, an online operations manual is clearly documenting step by step exactly all the different aspects of your business, what they are and how to do them. And again, even if you're by yourself now, which I was once too, believe you me, I documented those and it meant my business could grow. And it meant that when I couldn't remember how to do something, I could go back to that procedure and follow those and get and do it quickly again, rather than bumbling around and wasting time and not being able to find the files and remember the logins, etc. So that's also a really great system. So I encourage you to invest in technology, in short. Don't consider the commercial costs. Consider the time and money you could save by investing in hardware, software, networking stuff, connectivity solutions, whether that be with customers, suppliers, distributors. You know, try and avoid manual data entry. Try and do it the smart way, not the hard way. Disaster recovery, we've just seen great examples of why you need to back up and the reasons for these systems and contingency, and even data security. Make sure it's all nice and safe and unhackable. So hopefully that has one result. Push it again. Okay, I needed to. I'm not sure if. There we go. People are voting, so hopefully, are we good with that now, Jag? People are able to fill it in. I think something might have happened, so do give it another crack if it's not working. Here you can see some of the results we're getting in. Interesting stuff, isn't it? Okay, guys, thanks for hanging in there. We're really nearly at the end. Okay, the poll's closed, Jag's telling me, because some of you took too long. Maybe you didn't have a lot to fill in, so you didn't fill it in, and that's okay too. Business value. I'm sure our friend Scott Frizzell knows a lot about this because this is the game he's in. I want to encourage all of you, whatever business you're in, to actually consider your business value. Because a lot of people get into business, get excitement, to have a lifestyle, to make more money, all these sorts of reasons, but all they're thinking about is diving straight in. They're not always thinking about the other end, which may be retiring, selling the business. Now, most people at some stage will want to exit the business, whether that be because they've come of age, because they're bored with it, because it's not doing what they thought it would do for them, etc. Sometimes health reasons and terrible things like that as well. So I encourage all of you, while you're in business, to always be thinking about how you can increase the value. If you have that mindset, you will definitely strengthen your business. Value is based on things like this. There's the profit margins and whether someone can improve upon them. So you've always got to make sure that your profit margins of your business year on year, month on month, look good. The stability of the business, you know, are you in a business, like we talked about those trends, that's going to fall over tomorrow because we are experiencing climate change, or we are having an economic downturn? How stable is this business? What's its competitive advantage? Are you the only one with this product? Are you definitely the best quality? Are you definitely the best price? You know, what is the competitive advantage? The maturity of the industry as well, and how reliant the business is on the current owner. This is why, again, the procedures manual, the online things, the systems is really so important, because if you were to step out of the business, can somebody else operate it tomorrow? If they can, you've got a nice, valuable business on your hands. Would you agree, Scott? You want to raise your hand if that's what you're looking for when you're going to sell these businesses? Yes, he's got his hand up. I thought it might be somehow. I really hope that you're taking steps to achieve and improve your business value. Right, I want you to think about, therefore, what is your company worth today? How can you afford to fund its growth? Are you going to need to go and get loans? Are you need to get creative? Are you going to purchase any items, commercial property, furniture, equipment? What's your new venture? Are you going to buy or build the business? Are you going to acquire other businesses? You know, right now, if you're in a position, it's a good time to buy other businesses. I imagine Scott would agree with me here. Some people are really suffering, and it doesn't mean that they haven't got a good business. Maybe they just haven't run it well. Maybe they've run out of cash. Maybe they've run out of steam as well. There are business risks. You need to really just consider how likely these things are to occur, and what you can do to prevent it. And in other webinars, we do talk about business risks quite a lot, particularly in the business continuity planning one, which we ran, interestingly enough, in October, November, because we were warning people it was likely to be a very heavy-duty cyclone and flooding season, and what do you know, it sure was. Your financial risk, liquidity risk, interest rate risk. You know, these interest rates keep going up. How's that affecting your business? How could that affect your business? What's your credit risk like? What's the commodity price like? Foreign exchange, if you're buying from overseas, if that US dollar remains strong or if it goes down, what will that do to your business as well? Look, people, there is a lot of stuff to cover, and I realise we're actually on 8:30 already, so I'm going to end it there and ask you to raise your hand if you would like to ask me any questions, but don't log off because I've got a couple more announcements in just a moment. So, lots to digest there, obviously. Lots and lots and lots. Would anybody like to make a comment on tonight or just ask me a question about anything we've covered or anything I may be able to help you in business? Raise your hand now. Nobody? Sometimes when one person starts it, the next person will ask. They're just afraid. I've had 3 of you I've had the chance to talk to tonight. Todd and Alexandra, I haven't. Sure you don't want to have a quick chat? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Question time? No? Going? Going? And gone. Okay, people, well, you're probably deserving a well-earned rest after a big business day. So once again, I thank you for logging on to tonight's webinar. I hope you got lots out of it. I do talk fast. I do try and give you as much value as I can in the short time I have with you, which is, of course, 1 hour. We've got more webinars coming up, so if you found this useful and some of those topics I've been referring to throughout the session sounded a bit of interest, there's a range of further topics and they're all free as well. And I'm very excited to announce it's just all being confirmed today, the dates and the topics for some new webinars we're going to be running. We're running one on social media, which is really in vogue, very buzzy, something that, yes, every business owner should be thinking of. No longer is it for people just to muck around with. It is something every business, I believe, needs in place and to be using. So if you're interested in that, April. If you want to know more marketing strategies, March and April, we've got the attracting new customers, retaining your profitable customers, and another new one, search engine optimization, in May. So if that's something you want to know, take a look. And recordings from previous webinars will also be available very soon this week, and you can register for those on 1 or 2 websites, whichever one I suppose you find it easiest to remember. Now, I do want to let you know that there is lots of help available for you as a business owner. I'm just scratching the surface of what the Queensland Government makes available. If you want to see all their resources, all their articles, all sorts of fantastic benchmarking and budget sheets and all sorts of wonderful things you can download, go to business.qld.gov.au and search for whatever you're looking for, and you may well just find it. If you can't find what you're looking for, you'd love to reach out to someone for a bit of business help. There's a 1300 number. It is 1300 363 711. Nice, easy number. Write that one down and keep it somewhere safe. You may not need it now, but you may in the future. And finally, to wrap up, it is a requirement of our contract with Dee to get everybody, I mean each and every one of you, to fill in a quick feedback form on tonight's session. Even if you've been on one of these webinars before and you've completed a survey before, I do need you to complete one for tonight's session as well. As you should know, only takes a moment. So Jag has just texted that to all of you. Simply click on the link, stay online, click through a few questions and give us your feedback. We do read each and every one of them. We report them back to Dee and we take on board your very welcome suggestions, compliments and criticisms and turn them into new revised webinar formats. Thank you once again for getting online tonight. Please do the survey before you log off for the night, and I do hope that you've picked up some great tips that can give you lots of areas that you can strengthen your business, and I wish you all the best in your business activities, your adventures, I say, because it is one big adventure. Good night, everyone.